嗨，大家好，大家午安，我是
Good afternoon. My name is Tree Chen. Welcome to Taiwan Creative Content Fest, and I'm happy to be here. For this session, we'll be talking about music. I'm sure all of you here are concerned about the development of the music industry. We all know what music is. However, there have been new developments that make music making more interesting and diverse. So for this session, we will have 4 international speakers who will share with us their experience, and these are the movers and shakers of the industry. However, it's not easy for me to introduce them because they're all French, so I hope I pronounce their names correctly. We also consulted the French interpreters, but let me see how I can do in pronouncing their names. We have Benoit Carré, artist, and also we have Tom Scaliber from Superbian. We also have founder of Circle, Derek Barbola, and also head of Partnership for Asia and Midem, Kinoy Thomas. And for the panelists that will be present are 3 Taiwanese panelists from the industry. First of all, Fisher Dai, Executive Secretary of Taiwan AI Labs, and Feng Jianzhang, Founder and Visual Creative Director of Freeze, as well as Elsa Ke, Senior Manager of KKBox Content Innovation Division Content Director. And let me now first turn it over to Benoit.
Hi.
Hey,
Good.
it's my turn.
是 yes.
So I will share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So hi, I'm Benoit Carré. I'm very happy I want to thank the Taiwan Creative Content Fest to give me the opportunity to speak about my experience as a musician in residence, working alongside a research team since 2015. So basically, my job as a musician in residence is to help the researchers to create new tools, to help them to improve the prototypes that we are developing, and always from the point of view of the musician and the musician needs. So I started in 2015 to write a song, the first song. It was a song in the style of the Beatles. It was a style exercise. And for this song, I fed the machine with 50 songs of the Beatles. And the name of the system was Flow Machines. And this system generated several results that I curated, that I assembled together to create this song in the style of the Beatles. And then in 2018, I launched Hello World. That was the first pop album composed with AI. And this album was collaborative. I mean that there was several artists, and we shared the experience of creating songs with Flow Machines. That was original song, and this album was created by Scaliber. It's my nickname as an artist because I'm not only an experimentator. I just don't experiment only with the tool, but I also create original songs because I'm inspired by those tools. And just to illustrate this way of creating, I just want to share a nice story that I think illustrates well how technology and creation work together. It was a long time ago, and that's why past and present and future are always linked. And I wanted to go in the past to tell the story of George Martin and John Lennon working on the album Revolver. I think everybody knows this album from the Beatles. It was in '66, and John Lennon wanted to hear his voice sounding like the Dalai Lama chanting from a hilltop. And George Martin, the producer, say, "Oh yes, it's a very nice idea, but it's a bit expensive. So to go to the Tibet, so can we do it there in the studio with the tools that we have?" And they use a technology that was created for the Hammond organ, and this technology is Leslie cabin. So it wasn't created at all for the voice, but George Martin put the voice of John Lennon in this cabin, and it created the sound of a man singing at the top of a mountain. And that's why I find interesting this story, because it's the story of artists taking over the technology, find a personal way to create with the tools, and push the tools up to the limit too. It can be, there is a nice example with the auto-tune effect that is really popular now in production. And also it's to modify the use of the tool. And all that process of be creative with the tool is to make something new, because we all want to create something new. And I think that the relationship between creation and technology is very interesting from this point. So now I'm going to a concrete example in which you will hear music that I will play. So in 2019, when I was at Spotify, because at the beginning I was at Sony CSL, but we moved to Spotify and we started to develop different kind of tools. And this tool that we are developing at this time is a tool that creates harmonization. And I was experimenting on this tool, trying to find nice ideas, nice way to develop this tool. And I experimented with specific music, just to be concrete. I want to explain how this tool works. So basically, it's a tool that works with a target, a source, and it creates something new. So the target is a song that you want, on which you want to hear a new orchestration. The source is the piece of music that you feed the machine with. It can be anything. And the harmonization is what is generated by the machine given this source and the target. So I was experimenting, and I wanted I was very curious and very excited about hearing how this machine could harmonize not only a song with melodies and chords, but to harmonize just a voice. A voice that was a song that was sung by Pete Seeger in 58, and this song is sung without any harmony. So I will just play at first this song.
Black, black, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her face is something wondrous fair.
So you hear there is no chords, no harmony, no information except the melodic part of the song. And this song evokes me, the big landscape of America, the Appalachian mountain. And I thought that it could be interesting to feed the machine with a chord sequence in the style of epic movie soundtracks. So you have, in those kind of music, you have the same, you find always the same chord sequence, chord changes. And I recorded on my piano many chords, and I will play just for you to hear the chords that I recorded. I stop. It's a bit boring. It gives you an idea of what I fed the machine with. Then the system generated an harmonization that took account of the source and the target. So the chord sequence in the style of epic movie soundtrack and my a cappella of Pete Seeger. So we did it in a very smart way. It's not just copy-paste. It's take account of the continuity of the source, the continuity of the target, and the conformance of both music. So I will play now the result that was generated by the machine.
Black, black, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her face is something wondrous fair.
So I was happy. It's a nice result, but it was not enough for me. So I continued to listen, and then a few bars later, I heard something really nice, and I will play it.
I'll follow her where'er she goes. I'll write her a letter containing these lines.
So you hear that there is something that is unexpected. The way that the chord changes, and those chords are really not human in the sense that a human wouldn't have play it like this. And that's what I think is really interesting when you work with AI tool for creation, for music creation, is that you have something that you wouldn't have done by yourself, and it's original too. It's something that doesn't exist. It's a real creation, and your part as an artist is to curate all those results. Then the second step is to create something else on it, and I kept this result. So the new target was the song of Pete Seeger plus the generated harmonization that was generated by the machine. So now the system as a target has a new information, more information too. It has the melody and the chords. And on this new target, I wanted to hear something very sophisticated in terms of harmony. I wanted to hear nice harmonies on it that would replace the chord sequence that was a bit boring. So I thought that it would be interesting to feed the machine with a string arrangement that I've done a long time ago on a bossa nova song. So I will play the string arrangement. So you hear that it's very different from the first piece of music that I fed the machine with. It's something more sophisticated. The harmonies are more complicated too. And the system did the same thing that for the first step. It created an harmonization that took account of this string arrangement, and it adapted it to the target and created something new. I insist on that.
I'll follow her where'er she goes. I'll write her a letter containing these lines. I'll suffer death 1,000 times.
So that for me was a great result. And it changes the way I worked with this experiment. I decided to create a Skigge song. So Skigge is my nickname as an artist, as an independent artist, because when I work with the technology, I experiment a lot, and sometimes I get very, very interesting results. And as an artist, I want to share them with an audience and to release them. So I wanted to release this great result, and I started to work on a production to create a nice sound on it, because it was just MIDI played by synthetic chords, synthetic strings, I mean. So I wanted to produce this song, and I call musicians from the orchestra of Paris, Radio France, of the Philharmonic of Radio France, and they played. I asked them to play exactly the same notes without edit that was generated by the system.
Black, black, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her face is something wondrous fair.
And we are getting in something very human with strange harmonies that are not very human. So that's, I think, the mix is interesting. Then for another part of the song, yes, okay. For another part of the song, I created a Noto Choir that was made with Pete Seeger voices. Because for this example, I show you one tool, but we are working on several tools for orchestration, for production. And this is a tool that is really a great, I think, interesting tool for production. So you will see in this video that this tool will replace the generated arrangement, the generated string arrangement created by the machine. It will replace those notes that are symbolic notes into real sounds, and those sounds are made with the voice of Pete Seeger. So you will hear like new kind of choir. You have heard that all the notes are replaced by Pete Seeger voice. The system smartly transforms all the symbolic notes into audio notes, and it works with many kind of sounds. It's an open system. When I was very happy with this result. So I continued and created 5 arrangements with the help of this tool on American folk songs. And what was really exciting is that I was able to use a lot of styles, musicians, eras, and to mix them and create new kind of harmonies, new kind of music with all those sources. And what was interesting is that I could go very fast because in one click I had an arrangement in the style of Purcell, of Bird, of Talis on Pete Seeger song, of Peggy Seeger song, and also I had something that was not expected. I had a result that was not very human, still very moving sometimes. So you can hear this EP. It's available on all platforms. There is here the link at the bottom of the page. Now I'm working on a new project, Melancholia. It's a project that I'm doing with many tools. The style of the music is pop experimental with a bit of electronica, and I will be very happy to share it soon. And I thank you for this time that allowed me to share my experience. Thank you very much.
好，我们非常谢谢 Benoit Carré 的分享，你的分享非常非常精彩，但请你稍等。
Thank you, Benoit. Please stay online, and we hope to have a chance to also have some interaction with you. Now, we would like to welcome Mr. Tom Scaliber. If you have any questions, please remember to write it down. We have a Slido system where you can put your questions.
汤姆，你准备好了吗？
Hi, Tom. Are you ready?
For the time you allow me to share my, it's going to be experiences and computer generated as well, but more on the visual side linked to the music. I'm gonna share my screen as well. So, I'm the co-owner and creative director of the studio Superbian, based in France and in New York. I'm in New York right now. It's a bit late, but really happy to be here. So what we do is we are a creative studio for experiential events. So that means we work a lot with brands, institution, museum, but of course music, especially artists on tour, or to help them produce live, like new generation live experiences. I'm going to share a few of them. So what we use is that we say that we design stories within spaces. We love to work in spaces and combining scenography, video content, and digital tech. So a lot of different digital tools to create new visuals and experiences. But we also create a studio for extended events, because now we think that digital and physical are not two distinct spaces anymore. It's really combining them into a new extended reality. We hear a lot this word, new extended reality. So I want to talk about this today, the power of the digital and physical to create powerful experiences for the audiences. So first example. So I'm going to talk about, like, in terms of where the audience is located for the sound, for this relationship with the sound. So there's going to be outside, inside, and remote, because everything is remote right now. So first, outside the sound, how can we show the audience the sound? I'll show you a little video. So the idea for this project is they asked us to, okay, how can we make music and therefore emotion, how can they become visible? So what we did is to use like precise audio analysis that gave us data to trigger some visual creations, but totally generated by computers. So we're just like programming behaviors first, and then we let the music control the visual that it will create. This is just an example of the interface that we use to analyze the sound. So yeah, there's a lot of different frequencies, and all these frequencies give us outputs of data that we plugged into our real-time graphic software, and then it creates this type of visuals. So it's really how can we translate the music visually and in different type of emotions. And then we love to put those experiences in physical places. So the idea for this one was to create this gigantic dome where the musicians were inside and the audience was all around outside. So the dome was transparent, so you could have both the visual interpretation and the musician in the background, so you could really feel the connection between them. So because it's really important to have a connection between the visuals and the music. And then the idea is we can connect music and visuals, but we connect different locations as well. So we could have the audience online, the audience on site, and the players online or on site. So for this one, so we could see now the players inside the dome. So they couldn't really see the audience, but the audience could see them. But for another project that was kind of the same in the dome and everything, we created a visual experience linked with sound. But now the audience could see it online as well as on site. So you could navigate into this dome at 360, and everything was created by the music and the sound. Then we added some visual effects. Then what happens when the audience is inside the sound? Because we talk about a lot about immersive experience. Everything needs to be immersive, and to achieve this kind of experience, we need to really work hand in hand with sound and visual. So this is an exhibition we did in a museum in Paris called L'Atelier des Lumières, and it was a spatial and a journey into space. But with it was really precise sound design everywhere in the space, so it could really immerse the audience into the journey. So it's just a little extract.
Tom， 你的影片我们是听不到声音的，而且它播。
Tom, we are not able to hear the sound.
Yeah.
I can hear the sound, but
但我们这边可能目前是无法听到声音。
I don't know why. But you get the idea that I don't know why it doesn't work, but it was a lot of sound design, really profound and really specialized. So every sound was meant to make you feel the movement of all these particles and the movement in the room, so you could really So the key points on those kind of projects is so we have 360 projection, so it's a full immersion, visual immersion, but without the sound, it's really plain, and people don't get the emotion that we need to make them feel. So it's like really multi-point sound. So the spatial composition is really important and really interesting. How do you compose for an audience that is everyone no one is looking in the same direction at the same moment. No one is at the same place, so not seeing the same thing at the same moment. So it's really composing music and sound design into a 3D space. So this becomes really interesting. And as I said, sound, without the sound, we couldn't make people feel what they had to feel in this kind of experience. And the last one, so I don't know if the sound will work this time, but I hope, we'll see. So everything needs to be remote now. I hope it won't last forever, but for now we're mostly remote. So that is, how can we create experiences for the online viewers that are as engaging as the one we just saw? Really, when the sound and the visual comes together and create something really immersive. So we were talking about extended reality, and this is a new type of shooting, and to host, for example, music performances. So it's really like, how can we make the people forget about where they are? So I'll just show you just a little extract so you could feel a little bit. So you understood a little bit how we can really make people forget about where they are and what are they looking at. And so the idea is to so the idea is really to for this kind of performances, everything can, it's the same. We use the same technology, so real-time content design, so we can plug all kind of stimulus into the machine, so they can create those images, and so we can plug music, for example, and so we create a world, a virtual world, and every sound input will transform this world, transform the visual environment, but we can have feedbacks, so we can have for example, the color that we can send back the data to the music, so the music can adapt to the visual. So it's really a relationship. So that's why that's my topic today, was really the relationships between sound and visual experiences. For me, it's linked every day more and more. It's so important that they come together. And the music artists, we see, they need to create visual content all the time to engage their audience. Even it's an Instagram or for a full show, it's just like constant visual. And for me, it's the real challenge. It will be to have meaningful relationship between music and visual. And for this, of course, it's just how you conceive it. But technology, and Benoit talked a lot about technology with the artificial intelligence, and I love this presentation. And I mean, with this computer that we can train and really build bridges between music and visual, the boundaries between both of them will be more and more blurred, and we could really create like art piece with sound and video that's going to be really, really interesting in the next years. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next speaker comes from Midem, Mr. Thomas Bernard. He is already online. We know that all 4 of our speakers are actually on different time zones. They must be very tired, so we're very grateful. Now we hand the microphone over to Thomas.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be there today. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Can you see it?
可以。
Yes?
Yes.
Super. Thank you. So I'm Thomas Mcenwald. I'm the head of partnership for Asia and Central Europe at MIDEM. So quickly, MIDEM in 2 words, it's music business event taking place every year in Cannes in France, gathering more than 5,000 music executive, artists, manager, brands, etc. And it's existing for 55 years now, and we have been actually through the last decades following the evolution of the music industry. And that's what I'm going to speak with you today. It's trying to give you a little idea of how COVID-19 has accelerated some trends that were already existing, but because this crisis really impacted all the industry, we saw an acceleration of those trends and that leads to an artist-centric ecosystem. So what's happening today, we all know, traditional monetization sources are put on hold. A lot of sectors within the music industry is suffering, especially the live music. In most of the world, live concerts are on hold. But at the end of the day, the ones suffering maybe the most are the artists and the creators. And what we see today is that the artists' revenues are down. Why? Because there is no concert, and concerts were the main source of revenue for artists, but also because there is a decrease of publishing rights. I mean, like the COVID and the confinement in most of the countries in the world bring down the movie industry, the TV industry, the advertising industry, and so there is less synchronization, less revenue, and also the public broadcasting of music within the bar, the restaurant are also decreasing, and that makes a big impact for the creators. And the third point, among the other, is that traditional record labels postpone their release, because today when you have a big release coming and you're not too able to support and promote this release with a tour, with traditional TV promotion, etc., it's very tricky to release your album. So what we see today is that the musician, the artist, to survive, and the whole industry, they need to find new monetization way. And that's what is going to give this dynamic of accelerating the trends we are going to speak about right now. So the first phenomenon we see for years now in the music industry is the advent of what we call the do-it-yourself artist. Traditionally, we had a normal model with an artist coming to a record label, signing a contract, getting between 5 and 20% of the revenue of the sales of the disc. And everything was done in-house, meaning like the recording, the distribution, the marketing, the promotion. And for the last 2 decades, with the growth of the digital usage, the streaming, the social media, we are living now a switch of the model where the artist is actually able to make his music by himself, release the music by himself, market the music by himself, and have the direct link with his fans. And this ecosystem, we are calling it the artist services, and that places the artist at the very center of this new ecosystem. And so those artist services has been developing a lot during COVID, because those artists, those services can be remote collaboration tools, can be crowdfunding tools like Patreon, giving the chance to the artist to monetize their content direct to the fan, or even artist to fan shops like Bandcamp, etc. And what we see is that this segment of do-it-yourself artists represented in 2019 $873 million in the recording industry. It's the fast-growing segment. And we know that already that 2020 will see the share of those artists growing, especially also because a lot of major release has been postponed for next year. There is another, there is another phenomenon, and Derek just spoke about a lot. It's what we call the new live. And again, speaking about the model, so live is on hold. There is a new way to monetize the creation. There is a need to keep the connection with the fans. And we traditionally had a model with the live industry where the artists, to be able to play on stage, had to go through a lot of intermediaries, like the agent, the booker, the promoter, the ticketing. And that it really needed that to be able to get a tour, etc. And today, we see the live stream is exploding. Of course, it's not new. As Derek said, it started more than 1 decade ago. But what we see is, one more time, having the artist at the center of an ecosystem that is accelerating a lot for the last month, since the beginning of the year, with this need of monetizate this new kind of usage. And this usage, I mean, we can see, so in Q2 2020, 1/8 of the music listening in the US were spent on live stream performance. So what we see today is that there is a usage, and all the figures Derek gave are going in that sense. And there is a structuration on all this ecosystem. So there are a lot of different model revenue, subscription revenue, advertising revenue, etc. We don't have yet like the real model, and of course, engagement and experience is a real big deal inside this new segment. And we can see there is some kind of a gold rush, and a lot of capitals are invested in companies all around the world in streaming platform that allow the artist to have interactive connection with the fan, but also give him the ability to sell his merch and to have indirect revenue through something which is, on one end, new monetization tools, but on the other end, a very strong promotional tool. So in the future, this idea of having the artist at the center will continue to grow. The first trend, the artist services, is really booming, but there is still a lot to go, meaning that it's not because you release your music everywhere in the world in 24 hours that you can be in India, in Taiwan, in the US, in South America, that you're going to be successful. You still need to be able to have regional relay for local strategy and be able to work, to promote and develop your career through your project. And so it means for the artists, the managers, and the small structure to be able to navigate and to understand this new ecosystem. And so that's what we are trying to embrace at MIDEM, and we created this MIDEM Artist and Label Services Forum, which is a platform dedicated for artists, right holders, to try to understand this new ecosystem, find the best partner to monetize their music, to develop their career. And that's something very interesting and important for us at MIDEM. The second point, of course, is the live stream. And as I told you, everything is getting structured. There is a lot of new startups popping up. There is the traditional players that are growing, and live stream in the future won't replace the traditional live. And we have very, very nice. We are very positive when we look at the situation in Taiwan, actually, where you have been hosted Ultra Music Festival last weekend, and where the live concert is back. So we really think that live will continue because people need this physical presential experience, but live stream is going to be a strong complementary asset to the traditional live to enable artists to get new stream of revenue. And same for live stream. At Midem, we are this year launching a new platform next June called the Midem New Live Area, where we are trying to bring all the stakeholders, meaning VR company, people from the gaming industry, because we've seen very big success. One more time last week, Lil Nas X, did 35 million viewer in Roblox. So we want to bring everyone together, because in this crisis there is a momentum where more than ever people need to connect and share opportunity, make partnership, and discuss about the future of the monetization of the music. So just at the conclusion, we really think that having the artist and the creation at the center is the most important, because without music, without creation, the music business is not there. And that's what we try to do at Midem, is always get the perspective of the artist and to promote creation and to try to create bridges all around the world and through all the different verticals of music business. So I invite you to reach to me. There is my email. If you want to continue the discussion, 10 minutes is very short time, but you can also visit midem.com. And to finish, I wanted to add that at Midem, we are really trying to go cross sectors. So we have a conference track about music, TV, film and TV and music. We had a synchronization summit. We are doing premiere of a musical movie. So it might be of interest, and I am very happy if you contact me and have questions. And I thank you again, and happy to answer your question.
好，谢谢 Thomas。
Thank you, Thomas. Please wait for us online. So we've heard from the 4 international speakers. We'll now invite the 3 panelists from Taiwan to join us on stage for the panel discussion. But before we do that, because our 4 international speakers are from different time zones, I'd like to ask you to give them a round of applause once again to thank them. And now let me invite the 3 panelists from Taiwan. Where do we begin? Let's begin by inviting from Taiwan AI Labs, Fisher Dai. Wow, drum rolls. And also from KK Box, Elsa. Founder and Visual Creative Director of Freeze, Feng Jianzhang. And also we have the 4 speakers online with us. So before we open it up for questions, I'd like to ask the 3 panelists to introduce themselves to us and what they have been doing. Hi, I am from Taiwan AI Labs. We work on AI applications, and we're applying AI to images and also music. And we also have Yating live music. And I was so excited to hear the presentations. I kept taking notes and wrote down so much. I thought the presentations were wonderful. And what we do at Taiwan AI Labs is to bring together sound and visuals and even tactile experience. And for our project, Yating Live Music, aside from that, we also work on, for example, human-machine interface or smart city projects. And we've also launched music products. This is something that we developed after COVID-19. So Yating Live Music, they actually produced an album. Thank you. And now Elsa. Hi. I am from KK Box. You have a new title, right? It's a new service that you are offering. I'll share with you two things today. First of all, KK Box analyzes user data, and we see that there is a decrease in the consumption of Chinese pop music. This is not only music sung in Mandarin Chinese, but also music produced by Chinese musicians or Chinese-speaking musicians. So we're thinking about using technology and also data to incubate new Mandarin-speaking talent in music. So this is the purpose behind KK Now. And this is an app that has not yet been launched. Will launch by the end of this year. And for KK Now, this is a new music competition platform. So using live streaming technology, we, especially during COVID-19, will showcase a music contest. So let's think of the singers as participants to the contest. So the contestants and the judges and the audience can be connected on our platform. If you open up our app and enter our channel, you can just stay on the channel, and the members of the audience will be able to see the contestants from different regions and watch their live stream. So every contestant may have 5 minutes of live streaming, and then after that, we'll go to the next contestant as they live stream. And there are professional judges online to rate and also interact with everybody. So through rounds and rounds of contests, members of the audience, they can vote or also donate to the contestants. And all of this happens online. And as the contestant is performing, they can see the ratings from the judges, and they can see how much donation they've had and also how many votes they've gotten. Each contest is about an hour, and after the contest, you'll immediately see the results, scores from the judges, votes from the members of the audience. So this is the idea behind what we want to do. And the good part about it is that you don't need to gather people physically. Through live streaming technology and using the internet, you can connect people that are Chinese speaking in Asia, but also in North America. So through this kind of a system, we hope to discover new voices that are refreshing. And now we're opening it up for registration, and we have had contestants sign up from all over the world. So this is something that KK Now would like to do going forward. And in August this year, KK Box also entered the podcast market. Even though we are a latecomer, there are two important things that we want to do. First of all, we want to build a business model for podcasting. We'll have a profit sharing system. We'll take the data of the listeners and then connect that to our ad data so that we can better integrate everything. And other than that, we have produced more podcasts so that people know what podcasts are all about. And users can upload their own content. And actually, we're dissecting the content of podcasts into smaller segments to make it easier for consumers to consume. And next, I'd like to go to Mr. Fong. Let me now go back to the 1990s, the analog age. So let me introduce my company, Freeze, first. We were established because I entered the TV industry in the 1990s. And when television stations were promoting pop music, we were responsible for visual design. And my company, Freeze, was established in 2005 because the industry in Taiwan was changing. For example, physical records, it was very hard for them to keep developing because of 3G and 4G and also digitalization. for TV networks, the ratings were declining at the time. So we started an era of tours and concerts. And in 2006, we established a stage design company to design stages for concerts. So I entered the world of music performance. In 2014, we also merged another company. And after that, we continued our business in the concerts market. We were heavily impacted this year, and we didn't have live concerts coming back until about the end of 2020. And there are new factors to take into consideration. About 2 years ago, we started working across different disciplines and also using new technologies. And we know that trends come and go. In the 1990s, I started out in television and we would show concerts, and then we started going into live concerts and tours. And now what we're seeing is that we are entering a virtual world. And Derek also had a project that they started 4 years ago, going to the popular destinations around the world to live stream concerts. And we also worked with a Taiwanese pop artist to have a kind of online tour in 4 of the most popular destinations in Taiwan. And what we'll do next year is to provide immersive experiences and to showcase pop music. So we're using new ways to exhibit or to provide access to pop music. And we need to use different tools or mediums in conveying the music content that we want to offer. And Fisher, I think you took a lot of notes. What presentation, which presentation impressed you the most? We heard from Benoit about their AI endeavors, and that's very similar to what you're doing at Yating Live Music. Do you have any questions or comments or feedback? Is there something that you'd like to know? The 4 speakers, Derek, Tom Thomas, Benoit, they were wonderful. I can't pronounce their names that well. My apologies. But from what I heard, performing in Uyuni, different destinations, we're talking about trying to create that sense of Tibetan music. I was so touched by all of these examples, and I was thinking perhaps we could do that also in Taiwan to take certain Taiwanese elements, for example, Mount Ali or Taipei 101, the tallest building here, and incorporate that into music performances. And I would love to work with all of the 4 speakers. I actually wrote down all of their contact information. And Jianzhang, you work with concert technologies, and you've heard about a lot of applications. Is there anything you'd like to add? After listening to the 4 speakers, we are very confident in the sense that what we are doing, the development that we are focusing on is in the right direction. And of course, every city has its culture, and each market operates differently and has respective challenges. Yet I think in Taiwan, even though we are a small island nation, however, I think we do have the capacity to create content. And I think what we are doing is very much in line with the global trend. So it's an honor and a pleasure to hear about the newest developments.
有一个问题，
I have a question I would like to ask Benoit. You demonstrated many ways in which AI can help us with music arrangement, composition. Sometimes when we write harmony, we have a lot of problems as musicians. So AI is really, really great at helping us. Are there other areas that you really think AI can play a very important role?
吗？有听到有传到？
Oui, bien sûr, on n'est pas très nombreux, mais il y a
对，我觉得目前其实，I think right now many people don't have
une artiste qui s'appelle Holly Hearn.
many people don't know how to use artificial intelligence. We know that there is a French musician who they've created this machine that is able to learn and emit human voices. There is another artist called Yacht that's also experimented with AI. Where the human voice is also used as a medium of experiment. So there are many artists out there who are incorporating AI into their composition. And very often, there's also a research element to it.
谢谢他分享。哎，三位有没有对于他们今天你们所
Do you have any questions that you would like to ask our French speakers? We were talking about some of Derek's projects, and Derek mentioned that they had online live streaming in different areas of the world. And I was very curious because we've been trying to do the same in Taiwan, but there are market challenges that we've encountered. I know that Derek started by experimenting on YouTube, and whatever the picture quality that we've seen is so pristine, so high quality. This kind of cost invested, is it something that is sustainable? Because in Taiwan, after we did 4 local live streaming concerts, we really wondered whether it was a sustainable model. It will never replace the traditional touring concerts. So it is definitely a new model, and it may create new businesses. So I'm curious, Derek, in the last 4 years, you've been doing this endeavor. So can you share a little bit about how you make it a viable business model? How do you make money? I think that's the question.
C'est une très bonne question parce que la question.
I think this is a very good question. The question about business model. Initially, you're filled with passion. You devote yourself to trying different kinds of activities. But after a while, you really need to be able to justify the cost. And I think 80% of our revenue actually comes from ticket sales. So that will cover some of our expenses in terms of cost. We are also looking at other revenue generating channels. For example, the Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Tourism could work together with our concerts. They are hoping to promote their locations, bring about more tourists, promote the culture. This is going to also be part of the shouldering of the cost. Also, we have our royalties, we have rights, We can also work with sponsors. For example, a few months ago, we actually worked with Amazon Music. So I don't think there is only one business model, but rather, depending on what the live streaming event is, there can be different ways of revenue. Due to the pandemic, we can see we are going through some extreme, unusual circumstances. Right up to the time before the pandemic, we were actually doing really well in terms of profitability.
闪过了很多。
I think Taiwan has been very, very lucky in the way that it's endured the pandemic. And now we'd like to ask if our representative from KKBOX has a question. I would like to ask a follow-up question. We were talking about these big budget online live streaming events. But that's very different to what we're doing at KKBOX, where we're trying to envision smaller. Live streaming is an interesting phenomenon where you can now do something very, very sophisticated, but at the same time, you can also look at doing something that is very raw. So in China, we can see they are thriving when it comes to the live streaming industry. There are many different kinds of examples that they have come up with. I can say they're ahead of the curve. So I can cite one example out of China where their live streaming technology, they're able to have group chats. This is a simple mechanism where if you pay a sum of money, and then 10 of you could have a chat and interact with each other, and everybody else can only watch these 10 people chat. And they have all sorts of gimmicks in the live streaming industry in China. When it comes to the music industry, especially in Taiwan, I feel that people are not so imaginative when it comes to live streaming. We usually think of live streaming as being one person. So I think right now we need to have a more diverse understanding of what live streaming can achieve. In Japan, in Korea, live streaming is definitely a revenue stream. If you look in Japan, they have an app called Sugar, where fans can talk to certain artists and other fans can watch your exclusive interaction with the artist. So I really think in music we could try and do the same. And in Taiwan right now, I think there's a lot of room for improvement still. I think in the future, you will hope to see more diverse application of live streaming. Another question here. I'd just like to add my own comments because we're talking about how Taiwan has been quite successful during the pandemic. But actually, I think when we are developing online technology, this could be one of our obstacles because we have not had to be as creative as other countries, try and find ways in which to overcome the pre-COVID period. In Taiwan, we are relatively okay. So we are not thriving in terms of the online space. We can't just rely on offline in the future. I think the whole industry is being revamped. So I'd like to ask Thomas a question. As a representative from MIDEM and you are frequently in contact with the Asia market, and Elsa mentioned that overall, people are now more and more international. They're not just listening to music from their own country. In fact, sometimes local artists are overlooked. So we're hoping that Taiwanese artists can also go international. So for MIDEM, when you look at musicians or artists from Asia, are they widely accepted internationally? Are they curious about Asian artists and music? Do we have some opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, pardon, en français. En effet, hein, il y a une grosse problématique aujourd'hui sur l'export de talents à l'international.
I think when we talk about internationalizing or letting artists go international, this is something that is quite tricky. We can use live streaming as a way of finding an audience. But sometimes local artists are not able to be seen. So there are also some tools that we can make use of. For example, to have more platforms that showcase artists from different countries. Every year at MIDEM, we have a Taiwan Meets event where people can come to this big expo and get to know Taiwanese musicians, and also to have an opportunity for Taiwanese music to be showcased. My suggestion is for artists in Taiwan to pay some attention to events in Europe. For example, in June next year, there's going to be a big MIDEM event. And there are also other opportunities that you can explore. I think once everything is back to normal, then we will see whether it's the European market or the market in the United States, there will be greater interest in other markets. I think there will be more opportunities for international exchanges in the future. We also know that there's a lot of new technology out there, be it live streaming or AI. In the hearts of artists, there is another new phenomenon, which is podcasting. So this is not something new overseas, but in Taiwan, it has actually risen to prominence. And can you talk a little bit about how podcasting can also help musicians? We see many music platforms. They've started to dedicate some of their space to podcasting. So can we talk a little bit about its impact?
The way that we see it is a little bit different from what was just said, because the listeners of podcast are not the music consumers that we already have. I would say it's a group of other listeners out there that weren't willing to pay to listen to music that are the consumers of podcast. So for musicians, I would say it's about whether you want to enter the podcast market or not. If you do that, you may be able to attract a new group of fans that weren't willing to pay to listen to music previously. So if you see it from that perspective, I would say it's a different user base. It's not attracting the listeners that were already paying to listen to music. It's another way to approach. And I think the podcast market in Taiwan is still a blue ocean. It's not the red ocean. So there are new possibilities out there in terms of the content of the programs. And I think in that regard, Taiwan is still behind the market overseas. So there is great room for growth, and there is so much more to try And I think it's a fresh and new market. So what will you do next? To be frank, we want to build a podcasting team that is called Team Taiwan. We know that there are overseas platforms like Spotify or Apple. However, they're not that relevant to podcast creators in Taiwan. There's not much connection there. So what we like to do is to work with content creators locally from marketing, from technology. We'll communicate and work with podcasters. For First Story will be about hosting and will provide the platform available. And so we'll have the data of users. And then when we connect with First Story, I think we'll be able to complete a system for advertising so that we get the business going. And right now, the industry is developing, it's emerging. However, there's no system or ecosystem built yet. Do you have any other questions? I actually have a lot of questions about immersive experiences. So maybe we can go back to Tom. People are talking about immersive experiences from theaters to concerts. It's all we ever talk about. But what will the immersive experience be like in the future? It seems like now viewers are in the environment to experience sound, but also images. What is the next step for immersive experience in the next decade? What is the imagination?
Alors, les perspectives, pardon.
For the next 10 years, I actually have a different thought about that. We've seen the trends taking place recently. We see that destinations for entertainment are changing. In the past, there were cinemas and also concert venues. However, for me, going into the future, there may be a merger of both. I would say would be blending the boundaries between traditional venues to generate immersive experiences. And in my presentation, as you saw, Atelier Lumière, you see the sounds and the images that were created for an immersive experience. And new technologies can help us to generate that kind of interactive effect that is more straightforward and directed. And when we go to movies or concerts, we sit in our seats. However, for new immersive experiences, members of the audience, they can individually or collectively interact with each other to create their own stories. They will be placed within an interactive environment. They may use their mobile phones or even laptops to interact freely with their surroundings, and that would be an experience that people will enjoy. So be it museums or cultural institutions around the world, we are seeing these kind of immersive venues pop up around the world. So for us, theaters and cinemas may be blurred in the future. And I would say that the stage will be blurred with the seating in the venue. In the next 4 to 5 years, we expect to see these kind of new venues in larger cities around the world. Another question for our 4 international speakers and all the panelists here is, if we are to go with live streaming, no matter what device you use, whether it's your mobile phone or a laptop or other types of equipment, if we were to watch a live streaming program, which is a party, you may need to upgrade your equipment to get a better experience. Would you be willing to upgrade whatever you're using, or are you okay with what you have right now? Maybe we can have our 4 speakers answer this question first. Who should go first? Let's see. How about we first start with Benoit, since you were the first speaker? What do you think, Benoit?
Si je suis
Am I willing to spend more time, more money to upgrade my equipment? Be it laptop or mobile phones, so that I can consume better quality live stream. Yes, definitely. For me, this new type of interaction, audially or visually, and also in terms of my connection to the audience, this is something that I often think about. So on the one hand, for artists that work independently, usually it takes a lot for an independent artist to create, and they need to think about the resources they have available. And to gain access to those resources, I think is something that I like to hear from Tom as well. I'm saying that in terms of access to resources for content creation, how do we make it more popularized so that it's more affordable and more accessible? But for me personally, I think I would, without a doubt, upgrade my equipment. When we look at films or music, just as Thomas said, for artists today, they can make music. They can also use the tools they have at hand to provide pretty high quality work. So for PCs, it can do a lot of the work. For example, you may need to do editing. And we see that in a lot of the laptops, the tools that an artist needs is already there. So everyone can become a content creator. The question is, how do we provide that content to the audience? And can viewers or members of the audience have the same level of equipment so that they can enjoy the content? So in other words, how do we democratize these equipments or devices so that people can enjoy the same level of experience and quality? That's something that needs to be dealt with in a more comprehensive way. And as we develop content, I think it also has to do with whether the tools that are used can be more popularized. That's something that we hope to see, but we'll have to wait and see what happens going forward. So we'll now hear from Mr. Thomas.
D'un point de vue personnel.
Sure, I'm willing to spend the money. For many years, we have seen smart streaming and also mobile devices becoming more and more common. And now, in the face of 5G, we're seeing a new milestone in terms of the quality of the music that we consume. You may be at home in front of your laptops. No matter where you are, you'll see or you'll experience something new that is different from before. And the cost or the price of mobile devices is decreasing, and different products are also becoming more prevalent. So that will enable artists to create better content since the devices are already available. And we're seeing artists do that already. But to do that, one of the prerequisites is also to have the tools available. I believe that people are willing to pay for a better quality today. Lastly, let's go to Derek. I'm sure because you are in the live streaming business, you would love for consumers to use better devices.
Oui, après, je pense qu'il
Absolutely. The quality of the devices or equipment is already quite up to par. There are some people that watch live streaming on television or larger screens. The quality of smartphones is already quite good. However, it's even better to watch live streaming of concerts on larger screens. And we'll do everything we can to improve the quality of our images and also the images shot by our drones. And in the future, I think I will make more financial investments to provide better quality.
We want to thank our French speakers. Now we're going to hand over to our Taiwanese speakers. I really like the answers provided by our French speakers. I think this is a key question because when we're talking about 4G and 5G, what kind of applications will I need if I want to make the most out of 5G? So it's not just enough to have good content, you also need to have the right technology. I can share one of my own experience. I watched the live streaming concert of Mayday, a Taiwanese band, online. And just like Derek mentioned, I wish my screen was bigger. I wish I could have an even better experience. And what we're trying to do is, in addition to a better visual and auditory experience, we also want to use 5G technology and allow content creators to give us something even more interesting and unique. So are we willing to upgrade our devices so that we can have better experience? It really does depend on the content. The content needs to be so creative and attractive that you want to watch it. I think I would look at it from two perspectives. One is, today, where are you going to be watching this live stream content? If your only goal is people that you can get to the largest number of people, then probably smartphones are still the best device, because it's the one device that allows everybody or most amount of people to watch. We've gone from 3G to 4G to 5G. The speed has improved significantly, but we also need to look at the algorithm or the ability of our smartphones to process certain algorithms. We know that sometimes with a lot of earphones, they use up a lot of power. So is that something that you're willing to do? Charge your phone all the time in order to use these good headsets or earphones? So I think it's very important that when you're looking at a device, you have a trade-off sometimes. Today, if I can project on a large screen at home, watch live streaming, it's a totally different experience. I think it's very true what you're saying, these two different scenarios. I also want to talk about this from various angles. I myself, of course, I will upgrade, I will get the best possible equipment when I'm watching overseas live streaming concerts. I will not watch it on my smartphone. I will definitely project it on my home entertaining system. When are you going to open up your house so we can all come and watch it on your home system? But as Derek mentioned, online concerts, very often when we are producing it, we also have multi-track recording, so the cost of online concerts is actually very, very high. And something that has always been on my mind is when we actually sometimes we spend a lot of money on concert, we put up an event, the number of people watching the event it's so little that some celebrity or some YouTuber probably generates more viewers than one of the events that we've put so much money in trying to produce. So that really hit me. So on the one hand, we want to have this incredible experience. It's going to cost a lot of money, but we have to look at the consumer. Today, if online is a global platform, in many, many cities, there are people who probably are not even using iPhone 12. They're using iPhone 7, iPhone 8. They are still using a very low-end, very small cell phone, watching things online. And sometimes there's also the loading problem because they do not have very good bandwidth. So I think we need different kinds of options online. We have very, very little time left. I think we only have 8 minutes, so we would like to open up the floor. There are a few questions here already on Slido. So let me ask the first one. You can choose if you want to answer the question or not. Everybody can listen and see if you want to answer this question. The first question is in traditional venues, you can see the expression of the viewer and the audience. How can you do that online? How do you see the expressions of the audience? Oh, somebody here already wants to answer. This is about two-way interaction. Yes, because very often we cannot see the expression of the viewer or the audience. I've actually had firsthand experience where people want to see what the expression of the viewer is, but we don't have that technology. Today, if you're willing to spend the money and there is this technology, then I'm also going to urge Taiwanese businesses that you can actually, if you're willing to sponsor Taiwanese concerts, this is possible. Actually, in K-pop, this is already possible. Anybody want to add to this question? Would you like to say something about two-way interaction?
En effet, je pense qu'il y a cette problématique d'interaction, elle est vraiment très importante.
I think when it comes to interaction, this is truly interesting problem. I think for the artists, when they are performing live, it's very, very problematic when they cannot see the audience, when they don't see the expressions. So we hope in the future there can be some kind of technology where you are able to interact with the audience.
第二题是现在的直播平台。
We know that many live streaming platforms, they get their revenue from donations. Will that result in everybody making music that just caters to general public taste? I would like to answer this question. What I want to stress is people are worried that this kind of live streaming will result in very average music, but actually there are many, many different niche audiences. So today, if you want to see sad music or you want to watch something that's more happy, artificial intelligence can actually help you differentiate. It can actually help you find the kind of music that appeals to you. So you can ask AI to play sad music for you. And if it needs to play music that's more suitable for an awards ceremony, AI can also find the right kind of music for that occasion. So I think in the future, with the advent of AI, we're going to see music that's going to be able to cater to even more niche audiences. You don't need to worry that there's only going to be a very kind of average kind, or everybody likes the same kind of music. I think donations on live streaming is something people have a very stereotypical view of. They seem to think it's quite negative. But actually, crowdfunding is a kind of donation. It's just how you package it. You should not think the donation is a means that you need to cater to their taste. It can be just somebody gives you money because they like the music that you are making. Anything our French speakers would like to add to this question? Okay, next question then. We have 3 more minutes left. The next, this is the final question. We know that overseas there are many XR music events. In Taiwan, when we look at our AI industry, do we have some advantages, something that Taiwan stands out in? Perhaps the 3 Taiwanese speakers can talk about some of Taiwan's advantages in the field of AI. Actually, in Taiwan, I think we have done quite well in terms of the development of AI in music. First, I can mention in the future, it will be possible for you to see a Jay Chou a character probably will be floating and in the background, and it can create music that is in the style of Jay Chou. If you give AI 100, 200 of Jay Chou songs, AI is able to learn about his style and create music similar to Jay Chou. Oh, I think Jay Chou should be very worried. Of course, there's still the issue of intellectual property. But what AI is able to do is generate different styles of music. It can also do exactly what you ask it. For example, if you want somebody who sings ballads to suddenly sing techno. So I think in terms of this kind of technology, we're quite advanced in Taiwan. And a lot of the technologies described by our 4 French speakers are also becoming more and more prevalent in Taiwan. Okay, so it seems like on the technology side, we're right up there. Oh, sorry, we're actually running out of time. I'm so sorry. We have to cut this off. But let's thank our 4 French speakers once again. Benoit, Tom, Thomas, and Derek, thank you so much. Our time, unfortunately, is up. We hope that we can see you very soon. And we also want to thank our 3 Taiwanese panelists.